It was a cold, foggy morning in the small town of Blackwood. The lake, which lay at the edge of the town, was shrouded in a thick mist. Townsfolk often spoke of the lake in hushed tones, calling it the heart of Blackwood. But that morning, the lake had a new story to tell, one that would send shivers down the spines of everyone who heard it. Detective Arthur Collins was sitting in his small office, sipping on a cup of steaming coffee, when the door burst open. It was Officer Harris, his face pale and his breath ragged. "Detective, you need to come to the lake." "Now?" Harris said, his voice trembling. Collins raised an eyebrow. "What's happened?" It's a body. A woman." "She's been found in the lake," Harris replied. Without a word, Collins grabbed his coat and hat and followed Harris out the door. The drive to the lake was short, but the tension in the car was thick. When they arrived, a small crowd had gathered near the water's edge. The local police were trying to keep them back, but curiosity had drawn them in. Collins pushed through the crowd and approached the scene. There, lying on the shore, was the body of a woman. She was dressed in an elegant blue gown, her hair flowing around her like a dark halo. Her face was pale, her eyes closed, as if she were sleeping. But the cold, lifeless look on her face told a different story. "Who found her?" Collins asked, kneeling beside the body. "A fisherman," Harris replied, pointing to a man standing nearby. The man looked shaken, his hands trembling as he held his fishing rod. Collins approached the fisherman. "Can you tell me what happened?" The fisherman nodded. "I was out early, trying to catch some fish before the fog lifted. I saw something floating in the water. At first, I thought it was a log, but when I got closer, I realized it was." Collins thanked the man and returned to the body. He examined her carefully, looking for any clues that might explain what had happened. There were no visible wounds, no signs of struggle. It was as if she had simply fallen into the lake and drowned. But something didn't feel right. Collins turned to Harris. "Do we know who she is?" Harris shook his head. "No one recognizes her. She's not from around here." Collins frowned. A stranger in a small town like Blackwood was unusual. And a stranger found dead in the lake was even more suspicious. Over the next few days, Collins began his investigation. He started by questioning the townsfolk, but no one had seen the woman before. He checked the local inns and guest houses, but there were no records of anyone matching her description. It was as if she had appeared out of thin air. Collins then turned his attention to the lake itself. He spent hours walking along its shores, searching for anything that might give him a clue. It was during one of these walks that he noticed something unusual, a small, silver locket lying in the grass near the water's edge. He picked it up and examined it closely. The locket was delicate, with intricate designs etched into its surface. He opened it and found a small photograph inside. It was a picture of a man, his face familiar but unplaceable. Collins took the locket back to his office and began to research. He showed the photograph to the townsfolk. Frustrated, he decided to widen his search. A few days later, Collins received a breakthrough. A man from a neighboring town recognized the photograph. The man in the picture was a wealthy businessman named Edward Grayson. Collins immediately set out to meet Grayson. When he arrived at Grayson's mansion, he was greeted by a butler who led him to the study. Grayson was sitting at his desk, his face pale and drawn. "Mr. Grayson, I'm Detective Collins. I need to ask you a few questions," Collins said, showing him the locket. Grayson's eyes widened when he saw the locket. "Where did you get that?" he asked, his voice trembling. "It was found near the body of a woman in Blackwood Lake." "Do you know who she is?" Collins asked. Grayson hesitated, then nodded. Her name was Eleanor. She was my wife. Collins was taken aback. Your wife? Why was she in Blackwood? Grayson sighed. We had a fight. She left in the middle of the night. I didn't know where she went. I've been searching for her ever since. Collins studied Grayson carefully. There was something in his eyes that made him uneasy. Mr. Grayson, did you have anything to do with your wife's death? Grayson's face turned red. Of course not. I loved Eleanor. I would never hurt her. Collins wasn't convinced, but he had no evidence to prove Grayson's guilt. He decided to dig deeper. Over the next few weeks, Collins uncovered a web of secrets and lies. He discovered that Grayson had been having financial troubles and that Eleanor had been planning to leave him. He also found out that Grayson had taken out a large life insurance policy on Eleanor just weeks before her death. With this new information, Collins confronted Grayson. Mr. Grayson, I know about the insurance policy. I know about your financial troubles. And I know that Eleanor was planning to leave you. Did you kill her to get the money? Grayson broke down. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. We were arguing by the lake, and she slipped. I tried to save her, but it was too late. I panicked and left her there. I didn't know what to do. Collins sighed. You should have come forward, Mr. Grayson. Now you'll have to face the consequences. Grayson was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife. The town of Blackwood was shocked by the revelation, but they were grateful to Collins for solving the mystery. As for Collins, he returned to his office, knowing that he had brought justice to the lady in the lake. But he couldn't shake the feeling that there were still secrets hidden beneath the surface of Blackwood Lake, secrets that might never be uncovered.